honor,
loyalty,
respect,
Kismet.
Hi all, Kismet here. Want to become an awesome settlement overseer? Great! In this episode, we're going to talk about power. Now we're getting to the good stuff now. We're going to talk about direct power versus Wi-Fi power. Now what the heck am I talking about when I'm talking about direct power versus Wi-Fi power? Wi-Fi power, there's no such thing. Well, this was something that really took a while to sink into my brain when I first started doing settlements. How do you power those hanging lights? Oh, that drove me crazy. But let's focus on one of the most important things first, and that's the recruitment radio beacon. You can start with a small generator, then you roll over the generator, hit the space bar, connect the line, and then hit space bar again, and now you'll have power to your beacon and start pulling in new settlers. It also has an on and off switch, which does affect the power of anything else connected further down the line. And you're all set. Another great example of direct power is the construction light. Press the spacebar on your generator, then press the spacebar on your construction light, and now it's connected. One of the things you want to watch out for when you're moving objects around is that there's nothing in between the object and the generator. As you can see here, it turns red when you can't place it because the wall's in the way. Second you move it away from there, it turns green, it can then be placed. Wires can also block the placement of other objects. You'll see them turn red when you try to move them through the wire. You cannot place them with the wire in the way. You can also not run wires through other objects and connect them properly. Move them a little bit, then try to reconnect them, and there you go. It's also vital to know that you can chain wires. You can run a wire from your generator to, say, your radio beacon. Then if you actually grab the radio beacon and move away from it, you can get to your max length of wire. Then do the same thing with a power pylon. What I do is I actually put the power pylon really close, attach it to the power pylon, then grab the power pylon, move it till it turns red, and slightly back up until it turns green. Then you're going to get the maximum length out of your power pylon and that wire that connects them. So you can connect it completely across the street. Now another thing you have to run a direct wire to would be your turrets. Now we're going to get more into that when we talk about defense, but here's a general makeup. You can run a wire directly to the turret itself, or you can run it through an intermediate step, such as a power pylon. Hold on. Let's put the brakes on for a second here. Now there's something vital you need to understand about these wires. If you only learn one thing in all these videos, this is it. Whenever you move around your power, you want to store all your wires first. Otherwise they can be lost and you'll lose a lot of rare resources. So if you only learn one thing, that's the thing to know. They also have a tendency to be a little fidgety. I usually find you got to go a little bit lower, a little bit higher, or even get out of the workshop and come back in there to get the wires to store. Other things that require direct power: power conduits, pressure plates, terminals, and light boxes. We'll touch on those later in the video. Now the next thing we're going to talk about is Wi-Fi or wireless power. Now we can't talk about that without talking about the man himself, Tesla. His dream finally realized, well in virtual space anyway, the ability to send power over the air to something like a light bulb. For those with a keen eye, might have saw that happen earlier. Notice when I connected the line to this power pylon, it actually caused all the lights to turn on. Now let's take a minute to back away and visualize what's going on. You want to think of this power pylon as sending out a giant bubble of electricity. Now, how large is that bubble is the important thing to know. Now, knowing how big that bubble is important for reducing your resources. You don't have to build as many power pylons or power conduits. Now, we're going to put it up on the roof here, and we're going to get an idea by looking at the lights. Notice they're turning on and off based on where we place the power pylon. How big is that bubble? If you place it just right, it'll actually power across 2 squares in both directions. Now again, let's back out and take a look at the size of that bubble. This will give you a rough idea. What you want to do is think about it in terms of the actual squares that you're using for your roofing. So it's 2 squares to the left, 2 squares to the right, and something also good to know is actually 2 floors above and 2 floors below because it's a giant bubble of electricity. Also notice here that I couldn't go directly from the power pylon to the generator, but I could go to another power pylon which extends the length. And as you can see here, it is powering 2 levels below it. That's another one of those, man, I wish I knew that at the beginning of the game. That would have been incredibly helpful. Other than the power pylons, there's also the power conduit, which does basically the same thing, except for you actually attach it to objects like floors, ceilings, trees, whatever you need to. There's also some contention about what its electricity bubble is as well. But as you can see here, it does pretty much the same thing. It will power 2 levels above, 2 levels below, 2 squares to the left, and 2 squares to the right. Let's also test this with a smaller power pylon. Does it have the same size energy bubble, or is it a smaller energy bubble than the large power pylons? Well, good news, it's the same. And the same thing if you take a power conduit, attach it to the bottom, it also has a giant electricity bubble. Woo! Man, did you just learn a lot of awesome stuff that took me hundreds of hours to figure out. Congratulations. You're now a Power Pro. Also in this shot, notice that there's a ceiling fan and a wall light and a floor light that is also being powered by that Wi-Fi bubble. The really important thing to learn here is the fact that you can power things from above, put something on the ceiling to power everything below it, or you can put something at the bottom to power all the lights above it in multiple levels. You can also add power switches where you can turn certain things on and off. Like as you can see here, this one will allow me to turn the turrets on and off. This one will allow me to turn the lights on and off. And the one up here allows me to turn the signal beacon on and off. And a couple other things that use Wi-Fi power, the television and the jukebox. Personally, I like putting the jukebox directly under the power conduit because it makes it work awesome. So now that you learned all of that amazing stuff, that leaves us with just a few more advanced objects left, including the terminal, the light boxes, the interval switch, the power counter, and the powered speaker. And if I'm honest, you actually don't need to use any of those in your gameplay. They are more of a novelty than anything else. The terminal is just what you expect. You have the ability to turn all your power switches on and off, the ability to change the color of the light boxes, the ability to change the interval in which the interval switch goes, as well as to adjust the power counter. Now at this point you're probably going, well great, but what does this stuff do? What is it for? Now the power speaker generates a tone. You can use a pressure plate to activate that tone. I've actually seen an amazing piano created from that. Now the more advanced interval switch and power counters are basically timers. The only thing I found useful of this is that it would turn the lights off during the day and turn them on during the night. But it's such a big project that really I would just leave them on all the time. Again, a lot of these more advanced items are really novelty items, including the light boxes. As an example, I wrote out Kiz here. As you can see, this takes a massive amount of resources, a massive amount of copper, a massive amount of connections between all of these light boxes. My suggestion, save your game, test it out, and then reload your game afterwards. Now there's also mods and various other things you could do to test this out, but I never condone those at all. I like playing how the game is intended. Of course, the color white won't do. I'm going to go ahead and switch it here using a terminal to red, and there we go. Just in that little bit we just did, took about 200 copper and a bunch of other resources. Early on in the game, it is totally not viable. But later on, when you have tons of bottle caps, hey, run wild. Now there is a massive amount of stuff you can learn about settlements, and we're going to be covering those in various guides along the way. Now, if you truly want to be an awesome settlements overseer, make sure to press that like button, share this video with your friends, because if you don't, it really upsets dog meat. Also, this round, the comment keyword is Tesla is a boss, so I know you made it all the way to the end of the video. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you all next time.